Well, I see a lot of familiar faces. It really does my heart a lot of good to come back out here. I was telling earlier that I came out about 2 or 3 hours earlier. Rode around my old neighborhood. I was born and raised out here in Raleigh. It just does my heart good, and I see a lot of people that have stayed the course, and just a lot of friends. I'm really heartened to be here today. With our team, it's a great team. This is not an individual design effort, as Robert pointed out. This is a studio effort, and it's as a result of a lot of input. A lot of input from you guys. A lot of input during the charrette process with LRK, which we poured over very, very carefully to make sure that we're responding to the things that we heard. And some of the things we're going to talk about tonight, things you already know about, but in order to convince other people that this is a good idea, some things are included in this presentation, including the notion that Raleigh Springs Mall really began and how its origin was. And I think I saw Buddy Chapman coming in here a while back, and on Buddy's property was a fantastic hotel or nearby, and it's built in the 1800s, and the Raleigh Springs were considered these medicinal waters that people came from all over the country to visit. And 1892, the inn was built, and actually this wasn't it just wasn't 600 to 700 yards from where I was raised as a child myself. Later, the water table dropped, and those Raleigh Springs went down. The aquifer lowered, and so the hotel then became somewhat obsolete, ultimately burned. But as a part of 100 years later, I guess I'm going to fast forward to 1971. This notion of an interior concentric mall concept kind of drifted down from the north, where you go inside a place and then you shop from within the inner core. And that was a very, very positive concept at the time. Raleigh Springs Mall was built. It was on this particular site, which has been rumored to be, at least as anecdotally as it told me, that this is an old spring site as well, a long, long time ago. But it was obviously a fill site. And the reason we're zooming in on this, because we took a look at all of the different types of inputs, and we're trying to come to you tonight with a potential scenario for a site-specific solution. Robert talked about these concentric rings around the core, and it's time that Raleigh got included in that part, and that's what we're here to do tonight, because we have a lot of interesting things, a lot of synergy going on inside the city of Memphis. But Raleigh is part of the city of Memphis, and Raleigh, as you see up the top, needs to be a part of the connectivity, the public connectivity of these other very, very fascinating things that are going on, because I think we're in a real interesting age in Memphis right now. I think a lot of very, very positive things are going on. I think we're all learning to live together well. We've been through some rough times, but we are no longer in this sort of caretaker type of style of government. We are in the process of making some very, very interesting things happening with Mayor Wharton and Robert Lipscomb's leadership. We're on this very, very fast pace. Some of the things that we talked about during the charrette are the gateway opportunities. And Raleigh's somewhat lost, in my opinion, I think in several of your opinions too, it's lost a bit of its identity when the interstate created this linkage over Wolf River. Instead of widening the Wolf River Bridge, coming up to a nice knoll up top where you felt that you arrived in this sense of community, this little township, instead you just about bypass the whole thing, and you just sort of super shot off to the north on this grade separated overpass. And that left a lot to be desired in terms of physical charm. In fact, it kind of left us behind. And so this lower photograph here shows what that did. And so we're beginning to study other ways to re-identify the entrance or the gateway to Raleigh, to give you a sense of entry for the area. We took part of the LRK plan and noticed that the nodes along the way, along Austin P Highway, were actually the things themselves that were of interest. And we came up with some very generalized plans, 1 through 6, on how along that way to create this commercial corridor for a more vibrant area, including the inclusion of sidewalks. The sidewalks are in pretty bad condition. Street trees, bicycling. It's not just a fad. Bicycling is back to stay. We firmly believe that, and so we have included that in our thoughts. Now, one of the most interesting bits of data surprises a lot of people, and that is from the 2010 demographics, there's actually a very, very high median household income here in the Raleigh area, in this 3 zip code area. What's also very interesting is about a 50-50 African-American Caucasian mix. And as I look out on the audience, I see that as well. A great coexistence is occurring here with the Hispanic population actually in the most accelerated rise right now. We also see 61% owner-occupied homes. So we see 92% occupied homes, and home ownership at 61%. That tells us that this is a very, very stable area compared to other areas in the city of Memphis. Now we look at the residential stakeholders, and you don't have to look far to look to the east. You see the Shiper neighborhood and the Shiper Road neighborhood, to the west, Powers. Nice yards. I drove once again today. Nice yards. People appreciate home ownership. They take care of their things. They're very much intent on making this a place to stay. And we love that about this area, and it's very, once again, it's very great to see coming out. Now, looking at the Raleigh Springs Mall site itself is about 700,000 square feet, 68 acres, plus or minus, and it's located, I think all of you know, between Shiver, Yale to the north, Austin Peay to the west, and a neighborhood to the south. And it has a lot of private assets. It has the hospital, it has the church where I grew up praying, and we could have listed just dozens more, but as examples, these things are still very, very vibrant and very positive for the particular area. What brought this about was the notion that we were just on the verge of investing in a new traffic police precinct here, catty-corner to the site. It's still a valid idea, but then we thought just a second longer and thought there might be a possibility to leverage this improvement to gain other private investment. In other words, if we were to relocate this from where it is currently proposed to the Raleigh Springs Mall site, that might help invigorate the development community to come into the mall and do something about the condition that is currently there. The current conditions are deplorable. There's no other way to say it. It's just terrible. The physical conditions are deplorable. We were just over there this afternoon, and there are even perhaps dangerous and most definitely illegal conditions with regard to this demolition that's just occurred. I know that's going to be remediated, but it's a tough situation. We're down in a little bit of a low area here as well, and that actually can play to our advantage when you see in the future slides. Let's go ahead and we have 32 existing retailers, and those are the retailers that we actually value, because most of those retailers are what we call incubator retail or mom and pop shops, and those are the folks we like to see stay. We don't want to push them out. We want to find a place for them, a home for them. So as a part of this design idea, we have a phasing schedule that ensures that they will have opportunity to remain. The topography, as we talked about, drops from 310 down to, especially over closer to the Austin Peay area, down about 14 feet. So it's, as you know, you drop down into sort of this vast chasm to get to the mall itself. This gives us a great opportunity, however, to contain or retain the waterfall during a stormwater event. That might open the door for stormwater funding for whatever project we come up with for this particular site. And that's an important point as when Robert Lipscomb gets to the funding side of this. Okay, so here's the existing plan. This is one idea, one scenario, interested in your input. If we were to take the civic activities shown in purple to the north of the site, including the traffic precinct, other things. Take the retail development using the north side to leverage for the south side for retail development. Include in that perhaps a farmer's market, which would be somewhat seasonal or weekend activities, maybe even a skate park for the kids a little bit out and away from the existing structure, and create this recreational lake that you would drive by, a very beautiful, pristine